The Philadelphia housing market just made an enormous shift in November 2025 that buyers and sellers absolutely need to understand because the data is finally telling a clear story we have not seen in almost a year. My name is Tom Fior, local real estate agent here in the Philadelphia and Delaware County. I help people like you every single day cut through the noise, move at their pace. I'm sure you have questions. I know I have answers. Call or text me anytime at this number, email me anytime at this address, or I have a ton of free tools in the description of this video below. Now let's dive right into the numbers and see what we got going on. So our first chart here is showing the median sales price versus days on market. And this chart shows where prices are heading, how quickly homes are actually selling for, which is telling us exactly how competitive the market actually is right now. So the median sales price in Philadelphia is about $280,000 as of November 2025. That's up roughly 4% from last year. So things are steadily moving in the same trend, upwards. That tells us prices are still rising, but at a much more controlled and stabilized pace. Now, the average days on market, which is this line here, is currently at 46 days, meaning homes are taking a bit longer to actually sell right now. What this means for competition in this current market is that it has cooled off. Buyers are no longer forced into major decisions very quickly. Sellers, you gotta hit the market right. That is going to be the moral of this video here. Moving into the very second chart, we have the accepted offers versus new listings and inventory. So this chart explains supply versus demand, whether buyers are keeping up with new homes that are actually hitting the market. New listings dropped about 24% in November. That's a huge drop. So that line is signified right here by this, that's December, but November right here. And you can see that first bar has just dropped. And here we are in November. Now, December, we don't have enough information yet for the month, but nonetheless, it's down there and it seems to be following that trend. And we'll check back in the next video a month from now, but still, inventory continues to climb, and you have this second bar here that is slowly but surely going upward that way. And what does that tell you? That things aren't selling at the pace that they were, but what is going on the market is not selling very quickly, now letting inventory build and slowly make that increase right there. So that imbalance tells us that supply is outpacing demand, period, pushing the market closer to a buyer-leading conditions market, especially compared to the spring and summer months that we have recently had. Now, let's go into the third chart here, which signifies the month supply of inventory versus the sales price to list price ratio. Now, this one is the clearest indicator of market leverage and which side that this is truly leaning. Month supply of inventory has jumped to 5.29 months. That is an insane jump, and that is signified by this first line right here. And you can see from February, it was super high in February. As we got into the spring market, that ticked down. Now in June, it looks like this started to reverse, and it is now going in the upward trend, meaning that we have more months supply of inventory than we previously did. And a rising MSI signals for a cooling market, period. Buyers aren't buying at the rate that they were. Sales price to list price ratios are settling just under peak levels. So the translation for all of that is buyers have more negotiating power now than they have had all year and years past as well. And sellers, you need to be realistic if you want to receive strong offers in front of you. Now, going into the fourth chart here is the 3-month average sales price versus the 3-month average sales price to list price ratio. This chart smooths out the monthly noise and gives us a nice quarterly 3-month trend as an average here. The 3-month average sales price is stabilizing rather than spiking, and you can see that across these three lines right here. You don't see a ton of up and a ton of down. You see it kind of cut straight across the board right there. Price growth remains positive, but no longer is accelerating at insanely high levels like it was, where you can see this wave. This is the price accelerating, going back, waving back up, and now it's really cutting straight across. The SP to LP ratios are flattening. They are not climbing. Okay, period. This confirms that the market is stabilizing rather than heating up or crashing, which is exactly what a healthy long-term market will look like. Now, going into our very, very last chart right here, before we take a look at our 3-month average numbers as a whole, we have the number of properties sold versus new listings. This section answers one key question: is the market still moving right now? And just to be very blunt and very honest, properties are still selling. They're just selling at a much slower pace. Buyer activity is steady. It is not surging, and sellers are pulling back on listing right now, likely waiting for the spring and the summer market. The market isn't frozen. It's more selective, which favors prepared buyers and prepared sellers. Now, when you take a look at the actual chart here, the actual numbers, you can see the first line here is signifying the number of properties sold. Now, as you go from colder months into warmer months, you see that number go up. Now we're coming back down and off. However, that started in we got February, March, April, May, June. It peaked in June and it started to come back down in July. That is not a typical trend right there. You can see it kind of evened out, and now it's coming back down even further, meaning that buyers are taking more of a halt than they have in years past. And new listings to actually hit the market is going to be the second line here. So the second line in terms of what is actually going up on the market, we had a really good consistent month for September into October, and now all of a sudden November you just see this major drop off right there. So let's take a look at what this means in terms of our 3-month snapshot. I think you guys can see that there. I should have it all the way in the image. So in the past 3 months in the Philadelphia market, the median sales price is up 4% to $280,000. The average days on market is down 6% to 46 days. The number of properties for sale is at 5,129 properties in the entire county of Philadelphia, or the city. That is up 6%. And new listings is down 20. This is the real news, these last two statistics. New listings down 24% at 1468, and the month supply of inventory has jumped up to 27% to 5.29 months. A true balanced market, as I've been saying, is 6 months. Again, guys, there is major changes that have happened in a very short amount of time here. And people who are entering the market need to enter the market a bit weary in terms of knowing what's actually going on, because there's a lot of fake news, if you will. Now, let's dive straight into what this means for buyers, sellers, and our 90-day takeaway. All right, so what you all came for at the end of the day, what does this mean for buyers or for sellers? Well, for buyers over here, you have less competition than way earlier this year and years past. You have more room for negotiation and inspections, and you have a strong window over the next 30 to 60 days to move strategically before we start to get to that early signs of a spring market. Now, on the seller side, what do we have for you? Pricing matters more than ever right now. Overpricing will lead to longer days on market, period. It will attract bad offers. And last but not least, the best results come from realistic pricing, strong preparation, and the proper marketing. Period. Now, the 90-day outlook here for the Philadelphia area as a whole. Over the next 3 months, what do I expect and what do I predict the market to look like overall? Number one, continued stabilization, not a spike or a crash. Inventory to keep building slowly. Buyer leverage to remain present through the winter, and early spring activity to favor homes that are priced right. This is a strategy market, not a frenzy right now. Again, my name is Tom Fior, local real estate agent here in the Philadelphia and Delaware County. I help home buyers and sellers move at their pace, cut through the noise, and get you to where you need to be on your timeline. No rush, no pressure. If you ever need to reach out and have any questions regarding real estate, call me at this number right here, email me at this address right here, or check out a ton of free tools in the description of this video. Free home buyers guide, free home sellers guides, a ton more